Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another session of Drawing with Daniel. And I'm going to be your host slash guide. My name is Daniel Marler. So, welcome back, guys. Today, we're going to do something a little different. If you've been watching any of my previous videos made for the kiddos, they're mostly animal instructions on how to draw animals. A lot of them were very simplistic, very cartoon like. I've also had some more realistic animal drawings in there, which I will be doing much more of those for the kids. But also, I had a request out there to show how to draw the human eye, which I know a lot of people have trouble with. So we're going to work on some human eyes today. I got my tasty little beverage here. Let me take a little sip to get started. And so that's what we'll be doing today. We'll be using the same sketch paper that I've been using for my other videos. This just comes in a thick sketch pad of 100 sheets. It's a 60-pound weight, so it's a fairly lightweight paper. And that's what we'll be using today. So let me pull out a sheet of that. I'll set the pad off to the side. Also, I have here, since we're going to be drawing the eye, here's a nice little medical chart on the eye. This is dating back to my nursing school days. So for those of you who don't already know, I'm a registered nurse, and so I have lots of medical books around the house. Of course, you may not have that, but you can certainly get access to this kind of imagery or information online or at your public library or school library, or Barnes and Noble or Half Price Bookstore, wherever you get your books. So if you're going to draw a lot of faces, you might want to invest in looking at images online, something like this, where it shows all the muscles of the eye, plus something that I'll be touching on several times during this demonstration is don't forget that the eyeball itself is round. It is a sphere. So keep that in mind. You can certainly get an idea of that from these kind of medical illustrations. So that's there to kind of help me if I need it. I'll set that off to the side where I can see it, and we'll talk more about that maybe later. So this was, like as I mentioned, this was a request by someone I know. I'm going to give her a little shout out. One of my little friends out there. Her name is Heidi. She wanted to see drawing the human eye because she's working on drawing faces right now. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to have a piece of paper here for my wrist and my hand to rest on so I don't get dirty on my paper. So let me find a pencil that will show up better for you guys. Remember, we talked about the different pencils, hard pencil and soft pencil. Hard pencils have the H, and the soft pencils have the B, so they're going to be darker because it's a harder, softer lead. All right, first of all, let's talk about a common mistake that many people make when they draw eyes. Common mistake is, I'll do it on this little scrap paper here, is you'll see, and I've been guilty of it before too, and maybe you have as well, is drawing that eye shape kind of like that. I guess I would call that an almond shape. Think of an almond nut. Buy a bag of almonds at the store that kind of shaped like that. A lot of people will draw the human eye when they're trying to draw a realistic picture. They will draw it like that, which isn't really accurate. The eye is not really shaped like that. This is the way I will draw the eye, and I always start with that upper lid first, and then I have a line that comes straight down like this, kind of, well, not straight down, but at an angle. And then we have the inside corner of that eye shaped like that. And then we have a nice curve back here. And I kind of like to leave a break right there in the line a lot. I didn't break it as much as I normally do. That signifies a little bit of light hitting there. And then we need an upper lid. And some line work below it. And don't forget the iris. And of course the pupil. It's in the center of your iris. That's going to be your darkest spot. Okay, so let me show you what I did here. I started with this upper lid first. Then I added this diagonal kind of line coming down here at this angle, that little indentation right there. Then I started with this curve towards the back corner and brought that all the way across and left a little light right there. There's my upper lid. What I want you to do when you're thinking about this is don't forget what I showed you here, that this eye is a little globe or circle. So it would basically be something like this right here. If we could see the rest of that eye, that little circle would be like that. See how different that shape is to this shape? Which one looks more realistic? So let me get rid of my little circle I just added. And when you're thinking about drawing eyes, remember I said at the beginning that they're not almond shaped the way a lot of people draw them. But that being said, that doesn't mean there aren't some eyes out there that might be kind of almond shaped, because what I really want you to keep in mind is everyone is different, obviously, and everybody has different eyes. So, and that, there's going to be different factors that might affect what your eyes look like. Your race, your gender, your age will affect how that eye looks. So not everybody's eyes is going to be exactly the same. There could be some almond shaped eyes, but in general, they're not almond shaped. Notice how the lid on the top is darker because of the lashes. Notice the iris is in the middle and the pupil is in the middle of that. And your iris is about I guess it's about half the diameter of the eye. And then you may have noticed, I don't know if you noticed, I left a little gap in the iris, that darkest spot. That's the light hitting it. So my light source is coming from this direction. So if you were in a studio or in a room of some kind that had more than one, like studio lights, you might have more than one of those little white highlight circles. You'd have one for each light, but we're just saying the light's coming from that direction. Now, if I wanted to make this even look more realistic, I'm going to give myself a cast shadow right underneath that upper lid. Remember, you have your eyeball here, and then that lid sitting on top of it. And right underneath that lid, pretend like this is a ball shape. It's going to create a little cast shadow right underneath it. It's going to go all the way across and make it a little bit darker there. Now, since that white See how I put that little shadow in there? Now, since the white of the eye, the sclera, which technically isn't really white, but remember, it's curved, it's globe shaped, so you're going to have some shadow in the corners. You're going to want to shadow that up a little bit so it's not so flat looking. So you're going to see me shadow that a little bit right now, which is really easy to do with this softer lead pencil. I want to fix something I didn't do a very good job of right here. There's also on the lower part of the eye, there's going to be a little lid. Look at somebody's eyes real close. You got someone there at home you can look at. It's going to be a little lid there. I'll show you up close here in a second. So right along here, there's a little lid there. Then you have some little short eyelashes coming off of that. So there's a lid there, and there's a lid here. Here's your thicker eyelashes, thicker cast shadow. Now I'm going to make that iris look a little less flat. Remember, the iris, just like the rest of the eye, it's curved. It's curved. So take a ball out of it. If you got a white styrofoam ball or a ping pong ball, put a light source on it, a flashlight, a pin light, shine it on it from one direction, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Now this lid, these other lids around the eye, like here, that's part of the lid, and these are fold lines in the skin. So depending on the person, their age, how big of a fold it is, that's going to create little shadows as well. All right, see that one? Let's do one real quick going the other direction. Once again, you notice how in this video, you'll notice in other videos and future videos, I turn my paper a lot. Get in the habit of doing that yourself. Don't feel like your paper's always got to be like this. All right, so I did the top lid. It's a little darker, a little heavier because of the eyelashes. Here's that line coming down off an angle, a little slight angle. Here's that little indentation. Now I start at the back side and make a little bit of a curve, almost stealing kind of from that almond shape. Remember, it's a little tiny ledge. Little tiny ledge is what it is. I might have said lid earlier when I was talking about it, but what I'm talking about right here, it's a little tiny, it's a little shelf, a little ledge. Now my circles aren't perfect. That's okay. They're close. You know, I sometimes if I have these little circle templates. I got one around here that has smaller circles too. You can buy these at Hobby Lobby or other art supply stores. Sometimes I'll use those when I need it to be really perfect. All right. See how we did that? We started with this line here. Then this line, I made this line, a little indentation, and I came back to the back corner, that little curve, my little shelf or ledge. Sometimes I'll put a little light break right in there. Which reminds me, I'm going to put a little more light on that first one I did. That light's going to go all the way across the sclera and the iris. All right, see how that little light goes across there? All right, remember right underneath that upper lid, you're going to have a little cast shadow. And the bigger, the thicker the lid, the more of a shadow you're going to have. So, you know, it's going to depend on the person. It's going to probably be a little darker in this back corner. It will slowly, gradually lighten up. All right. I'm not talking a whole lot because I'm just kind of concentrating on what I'm doing. You just watch. I'm using a 3B pencil right now. It's a soft lead. When I press down hard, I can get a nice dark line. Then I can kind of lighten up when my pressure, when I want it to be a little lighter. And I kind of work in circular motions when I'm shading too. All right, see how I did those? The light's kind of coming from this direction this time. The light's coming from that way on this eye. See how I hit this little light spot there? All right, what do you think? All right, so once again, don't forget, I can't say it enough times, that the eyeball is a circle. Here's kind of a, oh, not quite a 3/4 view, but kind of like a 3/4 view, I guess. Here's that upper lid. Here's that little ledge, that little shelf we get. All right. See, don't forget it's a circle. And it's actually not even a perfect circle. I'll show you in my little medical illustration. Here's my eyeball. Here's the iris. Here's the pupil. Here's the iris. But there's a little, it kind of bulges out right there. A real eye does, where the cornea is. It's a circle, but then it kind of bulges out right here where the cornea is. What I'm talking about is, see, you got your circle. There's my iris, my pupil, but it kind of bulges out right there where that cornea is. So it's not really technically a perfect circle. Another common mistake I see a lot when people are drawing eyes is they draw the eyes too close together. So we're going to draw a quick little head here. There's the nose. Just doesn't have to be perfect details here. Here's the left cheekbone and the brow. See how I turn that paper when I need a different kind of line? All right, so there's our forehead, brow. So I'm going to draw that eye the same way I drew these up here. It's a lot smaller. There's my iris. Your other eye would be over here. All right. See that distance there? A lot of people, this is kind of a 3/4 view, I guess, I see a common mistake. They would draw this eye way too far over here when really that would be too close. Draw these real quick. They won't be perfect. That's probably a little too close even too. But one thing I learned a long time ago, and once again, everybody's different. Every head is different. Every person is different. Every face is a little different. Everybody's eyes are a little different. But there are general rules, and that's what I'm talking about. So if this was a head, and there's his neck, kind of a oval egg shape. There's his nose. Okay, so here's just a basic head. And your basic general, in general, your head's going to be, if I had some invisible lines right there showing the width of my eyes, you can see that the average general head is approximately 5 eyes wide. So there's another eye right there. There's an eye. And there's an eye down. These are kind of almond shaped, just to draw quick. See how the head is about 5 eyes wide. So you have about an eye's width between the two eyes. That would get you where what I'm talking about right here. About draw another imaginary eye right in there of the same size as your other two eyes. And that's how far apart they should be. Okay. I really want to stress that you don't forget that these are little balls, because I think a lot of people forget that the eye is a ball shape. So maybe this will help if I draw it almost like a skull, like a skeleton skull. You can see how that eyeball just kind of sits in a concave bed, so to speak. All right, see how it kind of sits in that concave bed? It sits back inside there. And then that's all covered with the skin folds and the eyelids. So that's what you need to think. So I see a lot of common mistakes. People do the almond shapes. Try to stay away from the almond shapes. People draw the eyes too close together sometimes. So try to keep that eye length between the two eyes. What I want you to do, let me see if I got, well, was just checking on my time. Practice here. What I also want you to take away from this is eyes really depict a lot of emotion in them. For example, let me draw this eye right here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. You'll be able to see it without me even explaining it. Almost done. All right, so when you look at this drawing, it's just one eye, and you don't see the whole face, but it still depicts emotion of some kind in there. When you first look at that type of eye, what's the first thing that you think? Because of the heavy, droopy lid, I think the person's tired or sleepy, or it could be a lazy person or someone who's maybe had too much to drink, but basically they're not really full of energy right now, are they? And so I can express all that emotion just from one single feature on the human face, one eye. You don't see anything else, but that eye tells you a lot right there, just in the way it's shaped, the way it's drawn, how heavy the lid is, the positions. So keep that in mind as well. This one I was sketching down here. You could say, see how the eyebrows kind of arching up, so maybe they're intrigued or interested, maybe a little surprised. This one up here might be more of a surprise kind of eye, because notice how I see more of my white around the iris. So it's more open, they're more surprised. So keep that in mind. All right, so what we're gonna do next, let me grab another piece of paper. Let me set this one over here. So I have some images here. You can do this too. You could use a yearbook if you have an old school yearbook, magazines laying around the house, or just I just Google image these. I just put in random face or woman's face or man's face. And so I got different faces here with different eyes. I don't care about the whole head or the face. I'm just practicing with the eyes. So you can just sit back and relax and watch me sketch these using some of the techniques that we just talked about. This woman has very pretty eyes, but long eyelashes. Got a lot of shadow in that lid. It means it's kind of recessed, sits back more. I don't know if I'm going to color these, but maybe. She's got two little highlights in her eye. There's one in the top and one in the bottom. I'm going to get my paper closer to my thing I'm trying to copy. It's real dark in this back corner. where she has a lot of eyelashes, thicker eyelashes. I'll bring the image up closer to the camera in a moment. She's got that little ledge, that little shelf shape. Let me put some shadow underneath that. She's got some makeup on too, so I'm going to kind of shade in some of that. A little eyeshadow makeup. I'm rubbing that really soft pencil marks I'm making with my finger. You probably notice that right here, just to kind of soften it up a little more, blend it. Sometimes I'll use what they call a stump to do that. Don't have any handy right now, but I'll show those in future videos maybe. You can use those to do what I'm doing with my finger, so you don't get your finger all dirty. But I'm trying to do this fairly quickly. She has a lot of shadow right up here where I'm working right now. Now I'm adding that kind of cast shadow from my upper lids. All right, so see how it was a little darker right here with the shadows in here, dark right here in this line. All right, let's work on male eyes now. They won't be as pretty. His upper lid's quite a bit different. It's a little darker than hers too. I'm gonna really press down. With my pencil a little harder. That nice dark line. It's really dark in that corner. When I turn the page that I'm drawing on, I turn the page that's my reference too. Same direction. You don't have to do that, but it helps me. There's that little that little shelf, that little ledge I'm talking about. In the back bottom corner. I'm not going to use colored pencil on his eyes. See how dark it is right in here, and then in the back too? That's what I was talking about. His upper lids are really heavy looking. He almost has that kind of sleepy look that we were talking about earlier. You get those eyes right when you're doing a portrait, that's really going to help you to capture the likeness. They say the eyes are the window to the soul. I don't know if that's true, but I think artistically it is. Eyes say a lot about a person, I guess is what you're trying to say with that. So you want to really spend the time and try to get those eyes right. He doesn't really have much line on her eyes. See how she has this line right here, that bottom part of the circle. Remember, there's that eyeball is a circle. Here's the bottom of that circle right there. His doesn't show up. See how his, you see a little bit of it right there and a little bit of it right here. It's very faint. So you wouldn't want to make that too pronounced on him. All right, so there's his eyes. See how this part right here, the light, this part extends out a little more, a little more curvature, so the light is hitting that right there more. So it's a little lighter right there than it is here and here. It's not as much light's getting in there. This is area is kind of thick and heavy on this guy. It kind of sits over the top of his eye more than hers did. So that's why he had this nice dark shadow across there, that little cast shadow. Not everybody's eyes are the same size, too. The left eye might not be the same size as the right eye. Now, here's a different set of eyes for us. Remember, I said at the beginning, different things affect the shape of the eyes, male, female. You saw that with those other two. Also, age, I said. So, these are older eyes. Notice how they're more recessed. They're sunken more in. Almost kind of like my drawing I did of the eye with the skull shape, how I showed it was in a little concave bed. So you can see that more in this older person's eyes. So got the big upper lids. He's got more lines on his face because of his age. His eyelashes aren't as long. His eyebrows are very faint. I like the way an older person does have more lines, though. I like that character that it shows. His eyelashes aren't as thick. The darkest part, see how his eyelashes are a lot thinner, his eyebrows are a lot thinner. But this right here is a lot darker. This area here is a lot heavier. It's more sunken in. So I don't have as, I still have a cast shadow, but it's not as dark as that young man we just drew. These two eyes definitely have kind of a different shape to them. He has that kind of droopy, almost sleepy look too, doesn't he? Pupils are a little smaller. Than the other individuals we drew. He's still got that little ledge, little shelf on the lower lid, lower part of the eye. So don't forget that. I think I made it too dark. Notice I'm not rubbing real hard with my eraser. I'm just kind of pressing in and twisting it, and it's lifting some of my line without doing a lot of damage. You should get in the habit of that too. I don't know what kind of eraser you're using. I like to use a kneaded eraser a lot too. I don't have one of those here with me. That's the kind you stretch to clean. I got this little pencil shaped eraser. These are basically the same kind of eraser though. Just don't tear up your paper and your other work by rubbing too hard is what I'm getting at. All right, so he's got a lot of, it's really dark right in here. I'm surprised he doesn't have more lines underneath his eyes. Using a real soft touch right now, my shading. All right. It's interesting how this line right here came down more on this side than it did over here and created this kind of fold line right there. That's what I'm trying to get right there. His eyes are kind of a bluish green. think I went a little too dark with them, but there we go. And last but not least, that's my lovely wife right there. Let's draw her. I've drawn her plenty of times. So I can do hers pretty quick. Her eyes are kind of almond shaped. She's a natural redhead, so her eyelashes aren't real dark. Kind of darker over on this left eye, but that's only because it's in a further away from us and further away from the light. Her eyes are darker in this photograph than what they really are. Her eyes are kind of hazel colored. They look like they're dark brown in this photograph just because of the lighting that it was in. But I know, since I've been looking at those eyes for many years now, they're not that dark. That photograph is a little deceptive. I'm going to use got a little gel pencil here. I don't know how well it's going to work on this white paper, but I'm going to use it to bring a little moisture. It's kind of like a whiteout. Think of it that way. All right, so there's my wife's eyes right there. See that? Okay, so what you learned today is mainly eyes aren't typically almond shaped, so get away from drawing them like almonds. I want you to always keep in mind that the ball shape that's sitting in there, it's not a perfect circle because it does come out a little bit there where the cornea is. Remember not to draw them too close together. Same goes for too far apart. But remember they're in the kind of a concave shape that they're sitting in. And I also want you to remember keep in mind where your light source is coming from. And find yourself lots of images like I did to draw from. You saw my wife there. There's the old man that I used. Notice the differences in the eyes of youth and age. Look how heavy his lids are. Look how different hers are than his. But what you should do is fill up sheet after sheet. Just keep practicing eyeball after eyeball. Nothing but eyeballs. Don't worry about the nose, the ears, the mouth, the head. Just the eyeballs. Fill up page after page, just drawing them. Make sure they're not all looking exactly the same. Get as many resources that you can find to practice from: magazines, yearbooks, people sitting around the house while you're stuck at home, the internet, books. Look at those medical books. Learn those muscles and such. You could, if you wanted to take the time, you could label all the stuff like I did on this one. There's another kind of a 3/4 view that I did to see how the eyelids stick protruding out over that round part of the eye there. Here's the bridge of the nose right there. Here's that little bottom shelf I was talking about on the lower lid. Here's that little shelf right there that I'm talking about. Don't forget your cast shadows and other shadows. Remember, don't draw your eye. Use these shadows to make your eye come to life, look more three-dimensional, so it's not so flat looking. All right. Anyway, so I hope you had fun watching me draw some eyes. I hope you took away something from it. It's going to take a lot of practice. I'll work on other facial features on future videos, like the nose and the mouth, and eventually we'll get around to doing the entire head. And I'll be doing lots of more animal videos, both cartoon style and realistic. Have fun. Don't get frustrated. Keep drawing. Keep practicing. You will get better. Don't get discouraged. It takes a lot of time. You can't get at this overnight. But when you fill up notebooks after notebook, like I have over years, you'll get better and you'll get to where you can do this a lot quicker, like I'm doing. But I hope you had fun drawing eyes. I had fun doing it for you. If you liked this or my other videos, click the like button down below. Be sure and add your comments or suggestions of something that you may want me to draw for you in the future. And in the meantime, I'll see you again with another episode of Drawing with Daniel. Thanks. Have a good day.